if we can take some questions from the media, turning first to Laura Kuenssberg from the BBC.
Thank you very much, Chancellor. You've said you hope to cover nearly all of the self-employed, but what about people who this scheme does not cover? And when do you hope the money will start coming through? And if I may, we've been really inundated with worries from people who feel they're not safe at work. We had a message from someone saying their employer was forcing people. They said, everyone knows it's wrong, but we are being emotionally blackmailed by bosses saying if we don't come to work, people will lose their jobs. As the Chancellor, what do you say to employers who are flouting the rules like that? And to the Deputy CMO, if I may, when do you now expect the peak of the virus to be from the most up-to-date information you have, please?
Thanks, Laura. To your first question, this scheme, if you look at people who make the majority of their earnings from self-employment, this scheme will cover 95% of them. Of the people that it does not cover, that last 5%, those above the income threshold that we set, their average incomes are about £200,000. So we think what we have done is reasonable, proportionate and fair, and as I said, covers 95% of all self-employed people who make the majority of their earnings from self-employment. So I think it is a very generous scheme in that regard, and treats them with the same parity that we did for employed. In terms of the timing, our expectation is that this will be up and running by the beginning of June. We will look to try and do it faster than that, but I don't want to promise something that we can't deliver today. As I've said before, this is operationally complicated. We are already designing brand new schemes to cover the 90% of the population that are employed. Here, we need to design another scheme on top of that, and we also want to give now 4 weeks for people who haven't filed their tax return yet from January an opportunity to do so to benefit from the scheme. And I think that was a trade-off that was worth making, giving people that little bit of extra time now, those late filers, but that does have a little bit of a knock-on impact about when the scheme can be fully up and running. And I'll turn to Jenny to answer your second question around workplace guidance and the virus timing.
So I think on the workplace guidance, it's really important that employers, most of whom have been extraordinarily supportive, I think, of their employees, stick to the normal principles of workplace health. We've made it very clear, I think, what those principles are. If people can work from home, they should be able to. If they can't, there may be adaptations that they can do in the workplace. And we've also made it clear what sorts of distances and practical measures can be made to ensure people are safe. So in some ways, although we're being more specific about the public health requirements in the middle of this outbreak, actually the same principles about workplace safety apply, and I know the Health and Safety Executive were reminding workplaces of that today earlier. On the issue of the peak in the epidemic, I'm sure you will not be surprised to know that I am not going to predict a precise timing for that. And the reason for that is we are only just starting to see a bite, if you like, in the interventions, the social distancing that have been put into place. It would be far too early to predict that. I think we are starting to see some helpful movement, let's put it that way, and what we will be looking for is a change in the slope rather than being a very steep curve upwards. We will be looking for it to be a gentler slope, but we must not take our foot off the pedal. People have been really cooperative, and I think in the last few days the public have really understood that this is something very serious, and their actions, wherever they are, will save lives. So too early to say yet, but I think starting to move in the right direction.
Thank you. Could we turn next to Beth Rigby from Sky?
Thank you, Chancellor. A question for you on your